For 12 years, everyone in the neighborhood thought Daniel was the perfect neighbor. He smiled at everyone, helped people carry their groceries, and never caused trouble. But when police finally entered his locked basement, they discovered something that completely changed the story. Hidden behind a false wall were photographs of missing people, including someone who had disappeared from the neighborhood just 3 weeks earlier. And the most terrifying part? Daniel had been living next door to his victims the entire time. It started with a disappearance nobody took seriously. You live on a street that prefers routine. Lawnmowers at 9, mail at noon, small talk over fences. Daniel is part of that routine. He mows his lawn on Sundays. He waves. He brings casseroles when someone's sick. You watch him carry groceries, one bag in each hand, smiling like he's the anchor of the cul-de-sac. Neighbors trust him. You trust him. Trust is why you never expected anything beneath the calm. The first disappearance is small. Mia Chen, young, quiet, worked nights at the diner, didn't show up for her shift. You think she left town. Her friends think she's just hiding from some bill collectors. No one files an immediate missing person report. Days pass. Then you notice a detail that sticks. A package delivered to Mia's porch sits untouched, the same brand of takeout she always ordered. You see Daniel walk past Mia's house more than he used to. He stops. He smiles too long. You feel watched. You start collecting little things. A light on in Daniel's garage at odd hours. A folded newspaper tucked near his front door. Front page dated 3 months ago. The mail slot in his house is padded with soft paper towels. A smell, faint and metallic, like pennies rubbed together when you pass his hedge. You tell yourself you're being paranoid, but then someone mentions a photograph, a throwaway snapshot of Mia, pinned to a bulletin board at the community center, but the photo has been torn from the corner. You find a receipt behind a tree, Daniel's handwriting on it, a motel 2 towns over, checked out 2 nights before Mia vanished. Each clue is small. Each clue forms a line you can't ignore. You start watching. You tilt the blinds at night. You see Daniel in his kitchen, silhouette steady. You see him leave, late, a flashlight in his hand. You notice he never goes on vacation. He never posts photos. He shows up at every neighborhood gathering. Too present, too eager. You say something to Mark at the hardware store. Mark shrugs. He says some people are just helpful. You report Mia missing to dispatch. No immediate rush. No urgency. You make a list anyway. Names, dates, odd details, a habit you can't shake. Then there's the second disappearance. Olivia Ramirez, an artist, stops answering her texts. Her classes go unattended. Her easel sits in the studio, paint still wet. The community notices. 2 disappearances now. You think about Daniel's motel receipt. You notice he's the one who offered to water Olivia's plants last week. You replay memories. Daniel walking his dog slower past Olivia's porch, a blue glove peeking from his pocket for a second. Your throat tightens. Missing. Basement. Blood. The words circle in your head like a warning you don't want to read. Police arrive, responding to pressure from families. You give them what you know, the motel receipt, the photos torn from the center, the odd smell near Daniel's hedges. They take notes. They move on. Weeks pass. The detective assigned is careful. He asks about alibis. He notes Daniel's willingness to talk. Too willing. You hand over the list you've been keeping. He doesn't laugh. He tells you warrants are complicated. You sleep poorly. You see Daniel in your dreams. Calm. Methodical. Then someone finds something else. A delivery driver remembers dropping a package at Daniel's back gate 3 nights before Olivia disappeared. A security camera from a neighbor 2 streets over catches a van. The same motel chain sticker on the bumper. Park near Mia's block the night she vanished. The detective moves faster. They watch Daniel's house quietly for nights. You stand by your window, wanting to do more. At 2:16 a.m., a patrol car stops outside Daniel's mailbox. You hold your breath. Warrants are signed. You watch them approach his house, flashlights carving the dark. Officers knock. He opens the door, smiling. He invites them in. He insists he has nothing to hide. They ask to search his basement. He says no. A standoff follows. Quiet. Measured. The kind of silence that stretches. They return with a warrant. You wait across the street as a swarm moves through his yard. The music of radios and the murmur of officers fills the night. The basement door is heavier than it looks. They break it open. Air rushes out, cold, stale, with the scent of cleaning fluid and iron. At first, they find a workshop. tools pinned to pegboard, a freezer humming in the corner, empty, and then a false wall. A seam in the concrete, a line too perfect to be accidental. They pry. Behind it, photographs, rows of them, faces of people labeled with dates, Mia, Olivia, names you recognize from lost posters taped to telephone poles, pins hammered through corners, a map with pins clustering along the block, red string tracing routes. You feel the floor drop away. They find possessions too, small things you can't unsee. A bracelet with a charm your neighbor's sister had lost last summer, a driver's license folded in a drawer, a child's stuffed animal with a smudge that looks unsettlingly like dried rust. And then, more horrifying, the stains. Brown that becomes darker when officers shine lights. The forensic team calls it blood. You step back. Your hands are shaking. The detective looks at you and says the word softly. Serial killer. It lands like a stone. They pull Daniel in for questioning. You listen outside the station, the words crawling through the metal doors. He speaks calmly. He tells stories about lonely people. He says he helped them. He says they trusted him. He smiles when he speaks of their faces. You want to punch the walls. You want an answer that makes sense. Instead, he offers reasons that sound like excuses. He says he lived in plain sight. He says that's how predators hide. He says the real terror is how easily people miss what's obvious. Then, the major confrontation. They bring families to the room with the photographs. Mothers clutch hands. Fathers stare at the faces. The forensic team presents evidence, DNA, fibers, receipts linking Daniel to the motel nights. You watch him in the interrogation room as they lay out the timeline. He narrows his eyes. He asks for a cigarette. He confesses, slowly, like someone telling you about the weather. He says he kept them because they belong to him. He says they were proof. He says he wanted to remember the ones who had noticed him. The town changes overnight. Lawsuits, vigils. A community that once laughed over block parties now exchanges cautionary whispers. You replay every encounter with Daniel. The casseroles, the smiles, the help with your trash cans. You see patterns. You see choices you might have made differently. And then you find the last thing. In a shoebox the detectives forgot to list. A single photograph with a date circled. It's your street. A small grainy picture taken from across the road, and under it, your name. The date is in a few weeks. You feel the room narrow. The detective glances at you and doesn't speak. You read the date again. It's not an accusation. It's a promise. He kept calendars. He kept plans. He had been counting. You realize how close you were, how the ordinary gestures of a neighbor could hide intentions you never imagined. This is fiction, but the image lingers. You feel the way the camera felt in that grainy photo, distant, clinical, precise. You think about doors you leave unlocked, light timers you assume work, people you trust because they smile. You think about the thin line between neighborly kindness and something else entirely. The detective looks up and says the thing that turns everything colder, the photograph with your name. Someone had circled the date in blue ink, not Daniel's ink. Another hand had written a small word beside the date, watch. You realize the real twist. Daniel was not the only watcher. Someone else had been watching him watch you. The raid uncovers more than one secret. And for reasons that make your skin crawl, the last image in the shoebox is of an empty chair in your living room. The timestamp is from last night. You close your eyes. You imagine that chair turning. You imagine footsteps in the hall that were never there. You raise your phone and call the detective. The line rings. He answers. You say one word. Are you sure? Pause. Then you hear him breathe. What would you have done if the photograph had a different date? Who else in a quiet neighborhood hides a secret behind a smile? This is fiction, but now you look at your own block differently. You'll check the hedges tonight. You'll notice the deliveries. You'll notice who smiles too much. What did you see that I missed? Write the first short out.